Hello, episode 18. Thank you for being here. It's been some life review going on with my old teachers, so I'm sharing I think today a little bit about that. Old the old sorcerers were very capable, very powerful, and very out of balance creatures. My teachers were had and were attracted to the old sorcerer energy and were entangled in it. And what the Castaneda books reveal is that there's a way out of that. So it's kind of what's going on in this world right now. There's a changing of the guard. We're entering a new cycle. So even what got me here today, I'm working on letting everything go and receiving a brand new syntax, a brand new way forward for myself. I totally support anyone that wants to use anything of the past or any way of looking at things that they're used to. But I believe that it's going to be easier for those of us that are willing to let go of what we think we know to be guided and receive a much more clear direction as things transition. Um, but all the more reason to learn and gain skill set from other systems of the past without being attached to them. So again, I learned so much from my teachers, even though they were very out of balance people. And there are teachers like that, very out of balance teachers right now that are helping others get really strong quick, like my teachers helped me. But it's a delicate affair because those people are going to have to figure out how to get out of the clutches of that person at some point, but they don't know it yet. So it is what it is. It's a cool way that the universe gets people trained in a system that is out of balance. So there's nobody that is fully whole. And so you do the universe guides you to different teachers to gain certain experiences, and then you don't realize how out of balance they are, and then you do and you get out. But you gained so much energy and intent, and you were able to borrow from that their particular perception, or what we call the assemblage point position. So everyone has a specific blueprint or an imprint that they make with their intent. My teachers left me, they imbued my whole life with a specific intent, and I allowed that. And then that was really hard to come out of once I realized how out of balance they were. But that's kind of what's going on every scale right now, because everybody's having to come to terms with the fact that there's so much unconsciousness. As we unveil, as the veil comes down and we start to see what's really behind the curtain here. So people that have just been focused on the dreaming and aren't paying attention to the world, and then people that don't know about dreaming at all, it doesn't matter. What I'm finding out is that the people that I thought would have woken up are still asleep, and the ones that I thought would stay asleep are waking up. So who knows who's going to sort of go through what different type of ego death, right? And a lot of ego death is happening. People are this blue moon really brought in a huge shift for people, for me as well. Just absolutely incredible breakthroughs are happening. Um, so, but speaking of these unique people and their incredible capacity to focus, right? You all have this, right? It's just honestly, I think the reason they were so powerful, my teachers, is there was desperation. There was a need to prove or achieve or avoid something, and so they end up applying all of their focus into their shamanic journey and their path, and put themselves in a situation that wasn't sustainable, that the Toltec books, that Castaneda books talk about, actually. But it's hard to read. A lot of people read these books, but they didn't catch a lot of the subtle and powerful parts that, I mean, I've read these books 12 times at least, and there's 12 of them, so it's 144 times I've opened a Castaneda book, and I still am reading it as if I've never read it, because I wasn't ready to understand what was going on, what to me during the download of that book reading. So those books are not to read as if you're passing time. Okay, those books move your perception significantly if you allow it. They were written from what's called heightened awareness. Carlos used it as a dreaming task. Don Juan said, "Why are you taking all these notes? I want you to eventually do something with them. Write a book." He did. He asked him to write a book in a particular way, write it, use it as a dreaming task in order to, you know, um, channel what needs to be written rather than what you want to write. And Carlos Castaneda acknowledged and noticed that whenever he read any author in this world, that their ego was splattered all over the book. And that the goal for Carlos was to get his ego out of the book. And that's why he shares things that most authors wouldn't share about themselves, personal stories that are really humbling and embarrassing, but he shares them in a way that doesn't trying to defend or explain himself. And so they're like, well, this guy is super dense. Why should we read his books? I'm not asking you to say, you're reading an apprentice's story from being an unconscious person to a very unique and rare being, extremely rare, incomprehensibly so. And so it's just a great story. It's not for you to judge or for you to say or understand until you've read them. Someday you'll understand that it's a manual. Um, a lot of Carlos told his students eventually to stop reading the books because he went past them, and he didn't want them to be caught up in that old mood at all. And I totally support that. That's what he did. I would say if he was there's a whole opportunity now to read those books without being of that old mood, and that Carlos was going through extreme stuff. For Lorinda and Taisha, they all said really extreme stuff to the students. Like unnecessary stuff, that because they were caught up. They were very powerful people, but they were out of balance too. They were caught up. They got tripped out. They were saying very intense things that are very self-righteous, or I don't know how they got so far. Doesn't mean they weren't incredibly powerful, the most affectionate people maybe to have been alive during that time. And I believe Florinda and Taisha are alive and are in a different layer, as is some of the others that went with them. So this is a really exciting time because the veil is lifting, and so people you know that are abstract beings that are still here with us, it's going to be really, really an opportunity for them, because everything that is all of the unconsciousness is necessary. I know that's hard to come to terms with, but it's part of the waking up. It's part of the discovery process, is this story. So for shamans, that means that everyone that is unconscious serves as a buffer, and it allows the shaman to have a really profound journey without being attacked all the time, because the rest of the unconscious world is sort of feeding the forces that play on humanity. And so those of us that are willing to give up social power and to step into actual power, to unlock the dreaming, to recapitulate our lives, to empty our field through shamanic movement, to liberate our perception through the gate of power, through traveling in a very unique way with letting go of your body. Not doings. These are activities that you can unbind your perception with. A not doing is just to never turn on the lights in your home. That would change your life. You'd start to have more respect for things. A not doing is to fast, to purify. A not doing is to leave your home, and with no intention of not knowing where you're going, and don't come back until you know absolutely what your dharma is. Put it all out on the line. I mean, don't do that unless you feel it, right? But if you're guided and you're not just tripping, you're not just being spiritual, You're not just trying to do something to accelerate your existence. Don't run away from your shit, but you will be guided at certain points to liberate, to walk away, to take the chains off, to quit the job that's killing you, to or to go and fix the job, go in there and become such a badass employee that you change the whole company. Don't be a victim, and the doors will fly open. When somebody's, not doing, I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody's, it's a tricky balance. It's okay to stand your ground, and if somebody's not being respectful to you, to have a boundary. My point is though that you can, even though people have hate and drama, you can transcend it and you can bring balance to your company. It doesn't mean you don't call people out on their shit. You do it in a way that's so just like it's so just authentic that they can't like they can't fuck with it. So we all need to step into that so that we're not avoiding the matrix. We're learning how to be incredible in the matrix, and that we're not attached to the matrix, that we know how to be out in the wilderness for days at a time alone, that we're not attached to these computers or to people. I know people that they can't not be helping others, they start to feel drained, and that's not a good sign at all. If you want to be able to be gaining, probably if you're gaining, you should be gaining more energy when you're alone, not when you're with people. um, Unless it's a really powerful person. Like I gain a lot of energy from speaking with very particular people. I get a massive jolt. Okay, so that's what I want for you guys. I want you to feel that jolt and understand that energy and what that does for you and how it changes your life. We're moving fast, so that's why I'm sharing this stuff. Normally I wouldn't be doing this, but this is powerful, and it's going to become really obvious that the shamanic stuff is going to be needed just to wake up. This isn't just a normal transition we're in. The whole world, the whole story is in an absolute flux. This is spiritual war. It's real. You're going to start to understand that. You're going to start to understand how these forces work that interact on humanity, and what this war is and what it's for, and it serves a incredible purpose. There's nothing negative about any of it. Doesn't mean you can't process your shadow by saying, hey, take off those masks or do whatever you got to do. But in reality, and I only really do that for children or for the elderly. I'm really trying to stand for people that don't have a voice. Not that it matters. I'm not attached. I can't be attached, right? This is just a dream for me. But we're all dreaming together, and I'm not taking myself very seriously, but I'm also totally focused, right? So that's that exchange, or that's that balance where nothing matters because everything matters. Nothing could possibly matter because it's already happened. It's already over. It's just too fast. Time is just not what we think it is. Time is intensity. So if you want more time, harness more intensity. Have access to the intensity that wakes you up. Whether that's getting up in the middle of the night and going out and facing the dark, feeling the wind, staying out there even though you're uncomfortable. These are powerful ways that you can change your life anytime. But it's got to be particular to you. It's got to be something that's difficult for you. That I have all kinds of stuff I've yet to face, and I'm working through it. Um, what what you get into in the not doing side of things is up to you. I guarantee massive results from not doings. All the shamans I worked with were very gifted at not doing. It just means stopping. Don't think. Don't do. Figure out a way to shut it down and heal your nervous system. That could be you could be as creative as you want. It can be all the things that you think are, I mean, Your ego is always going to try to hijack you from being able to understand how simple this is. But it's you know, just do it. Just do a 4-day dry fast. Prepare, look online. How do I prepare for a 4-day dry fast? Talk to me about it. Do it, because then you'll know what a not doing is. That's a not doing. That's just straight up not doing. You're not drinking water, you're not eating. That is absolute purification, okay? Well, apply that to everything. Don't drive your car for 4 days. Don't use your phone for 4 days. Don't use your computer for 4 days. Don't purify. Purify, purify, purify. Not do, not do, not do. Heal, 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 heal. Simple. But it's terrifying. We love to be distracted. We love to be connected. But you have to disconnect to connect. Everything is a contradiction in the sorcery realm. Impeccability becomes absolutely critical. Discipline will fail you. You can't just try to become somebody that's, does very intense marine style workouts. That's not going to, intent isn't, there's a type of intent that athletes and military have. But the type of intent that I am speaking of is abstract, it's magical, and it has nothing to do with self importance. So to get out of the way is to not do. Intent shows up, it floods your being. What's called the tonal starts to shrink, and then the wall starts to flood. Okay, so you want to shrink the first attention to make room for the second. The first attention is everything you see around you. The second attention is everything that you sense. Everything that is magical and possible and that you can dream about. And that those signs and omens and that guidance, the dreams, the longing, the assemblage point shift, the perception shift. That's the second attention pulling you, calling you, inviting you to be part of something more magical than this dense, linear, inverted dream spell. So the hypnosis had to be this way. This is our course of training. You're all warriors. You're all going to do incredible things with your life. Don't let anybody tell you different. Don't let anyone tell you there's only one way to do this. We're in a new time. The Toltec system's powerful. There are people using that effectively. And there are people that are pretending to use it and they're not. It's not effective at all. There's just become something else for them. So when you find a tool, a skill set, a system, it will enslave you if you're not careful. Because then you think you're out and now this is everything, right? So that's how it was hard for me to get out of these cults. I was working with powerful teachers who had changed my life completely, given me a whole different perspective. I could tell they were out of balance at a certain point, but it was kind of too late. I was caught in that I had abandoned everything, and here I am trying to figure out a way, to get the help I needed from the person who wasn't safe to work with. And it was like a barter thing. It was like kind of an unspoken issue. He knew that I needed him, so he could fuck with me. He knew that I saw through his shit, and the shadow shit is dark, you guys. The things that are going on right now with certain teachers I'm seeing, it's really intense. And it's only going to get more. We're in the time of the false prophets. We're in the time of like this biblical opportunity, or it's the one story coming back at us really hard and legit. So you're all going to get a real expedited process if you're interested in becoming more energetically sensitive, becoming capable of perceiving energy. Takes usually a long time. Some people expedite the process, and some of you will, especially because of this time we're in. But I'm an advocate for the tortoise. Always go slow and do the shadow work along the way, or it'll hijack you later when you wish you had done it prior, because you don't want to go all the way back and do the basics, but you'd have to. Um, and then you spend the rest of your life not willing to do that, and then you just be suffering. And that's very classic, you guys. I know really powerful people that all they have to do is just admit that they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. Just like me, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Nobody does. Anyone that says they do, they're still in a 3D way of perceiving their, even if they're in 12D reality. That's how crazy it is. I'm watching actual shamans that are so capable under total hypnosis in another way. Scary shit. That means that I, too, am so far out of balance that there's really no likelihood of ever becoming balanced. It's the impossible dream, and I'm pursuing it with every fiber of my being. I don't expect to achieve anything. There's no goal. I am not claiming anything whatsoever. I've been shown that I'm going to be here a long time. I feel incredible. I feel younger than ever because I've changed. I'm less. Things are just a lot heavy because of some breakthroughs in my dreaming. I quit taking things so seriously. I became irreverent. You know, I was very serious most of my life. I had to figure out a way to unbind that. It took laughter. It took significant amounts of laughter, psychedelics. Like I didn't have any rules, so I was creative. I was in a lot of pain, and I found my way out of it because nobody could tell me how to get out of it. And so I'm here to give that, right? Give what you don't have. That's what Carlos Castaneda said. Give what you don't have. Well, I didn't get that. I found it. Nobody taught it to me. I found it on my own, so that's what I can give. It's something I unearthed authentically on my own. The way I do dark room dreaming is I started out recapitulating in a dark room closet, and I discovered that you can do incredible dreaming in there. And so I learned how to do that at a young age when I was 16. And we had this massive crawl space where we could do it was an incredible place to unlock perception and to use psychedelics and use the darkness as a means to perceive what's really going on. And then there is a lot more going on than we realize. And so it's cool to unlock that, and people are scared of it and they think it's not safe, and it wasn't. It got unsafe for me. I got too far into that world to where something happened to me very significant in the wilderness that changed my life. And I'll share that if I haven't eventually. But how how we transition during this incredible time and raise our hand and say we want in and ask for magic and trust, that the type of trust that it takes to really let that possibility, your heart open to the idea of having a path of heart, to having a fully intent filled, gnosis filled existence, right? Where you're not at odds with yourself. You're not looking in the mirror going, you piece of shit. You're just observing the abstract. You're not even using mirrors. You're in the dark. You're changing your relationship with dreaming so that everything is dreaming, so that everything becomes liquid and everything becomes really lovely, like, in a strange, dark, mysterious way. Because people are hauntingly mysterious. Every one of us. Everyone has this power that they're not using. That if they were to use it, if they were to take enough psychedelics or whatever happened to where they have an ego death and they discover their power, and then they were to slip out of the hypnosis for a long enough period of time, that they could perceive their dharma or see their karma, so that they maybe could unlock it to their dharma, because it's a kind of a process. But sometimes the ego death will take you all the way to your dharma. And I think a lot of people are going to have these just huge ego deaths, whether it's car accidents, whether it's just, I have to eat 5 grams of mushrooms right now. Like, some people are just going to realize I have to cross over because I haven't yet. There are people that can help with that. That's intense to do your own, to do a medicine induced ego death. You don't need to. There are other systems in place that can help you have such life-changing stuff that you don't have to use any medicine ever. But most people don't have the discipline and the willpower to do the things that or if you just take the medicine, the teacher comes, it's the mushroom teaches you. It's just about how much you resist it. If you resist the teachings, you suffer. If you receive them, you're liberated, right? So my teachers were gifted and now they're lost. I mean, some of them died, so I don't know how, I don't know beyond that. But the ones that are alive, are that their gifts got them into some really difficult positions. So there's no reason to expedite this process, but you can. Fast forward buttons usually end up requiring a lot of integration therapy, a lot of integration work of sorts. So in a sense, there's no way to expedite anything because you end up having to take just as long to integrate after you do it all than if you had integrated as you went. But everyone's each to their own. There are risks both ways, going fast or slow, to be honest. And so that's where spirit comes in. That's where you need the guidance. It's not up to you whether you go fast or slow. It's up to the universe telling you, hey, you might want to get some shit done because something's about to happen, kind of feeling. Like I get called to really do some work sometimes and go inward. And I hone a lot of dreaming attention through my recapitulation, through my dark room dreaming, through my dreaming awake practice. Yeah. It builds my energy and I'm like, okay, and then I'm ready for whatever comes at me because I was given a heads up. So you guys have all the power at your fingertips to learn how to go inward. I can help you with that. And it is a very difficult thing at first, it seemed like, to be able to focus the way that one has to go that far inward. But as I was trying to tell someone recently, it's when you're trying to reach silence, it's not so much that you want to stop your thoughts, it's that you want to feel so much that you couldn't possibly have thoughts. So if you can grab feelings and sit with them and hold them and unlock them and like hang out in a feeling, that's if you've ever been just on top of the world and everything's just flowing and you just know what's coming at you, you just feel it, and it's because you're just not really thinking.